Meetings. I love meetings, but most people hate meetings. I suspect that's because they can easily go off the rails. So today we're talking about how to make meetings productive. I'll discuss steps you can take before, during, and after the meeting. Hi, I'm Jenn Sandercock, and this is Jenn's Generally Good Game Production Advice. I'm a games producer who loves helping teams ship their games on time, on budget, with a happy team. In this advice column, I respond to game developers who are having problems on their teams. So, today's question is, sometimes we find ourselves in long meetings where no conclusion is reached. How do you ensure that a meeting ends in good time and is a productive conversation that moves the project forwards? Well, let's start with talking about why I love meetings. They help me know what's going on, help team members give and receive feedback, and are an essential part of making games. When meetings aren't being productive and don't help the team make the game, it's really easy to hate them. So let's look at how we can turn this around. There are 3 key places where a meeting can go off the rails: before, during, and afterwards. So let's get into it. We're going to start with before. So there's 3 things to consider here: purpose, duration, and attendees. Purpose. What is the purpose of this meeting? What are the outcomes of it? What decisions need to be made during this meeting? Do you need to have this conversation now? Can you have it later? You should try to Goldilocks how many meetings you have. That is, having just the perfect exact number of meetings. It's pretty clear to most people that too many meetings is bad. People start to tune out and less gets done on the game itself. But too few meetings is also bad. In this case, you end up having long, rambling meetings to go over all of the built-up conversations. And since conversations aren't happening in a timely manner, some people might get started on work without all the information they need, and then that work's going to need to get redone or possibly thrown out entirely. When thinking about purpose, think about what is the benefit for people getting together and being there. If your meetings don't have very much interaction between the people, then consider, does it even need to be a meeting? Maybe it can be a video sharing information, a dedicated Slack or Discord channel. I'm particularly thinking of bland daily stand-ups where people tune out as updates just sound exactly the same day after day. You want people to be talking to each other, asking questions, giving feedback, and so on, interacting, not just talking monologues. The classic way to define purpose is creating an agenda ahead of time. For recurring meetings, I recommend setting up a single page or area where people can put those agenda items at any point in time when they think of them. Now, this area that you're sending people to shouldn't change meeting to meeting and should be a fixed location. Then, if nothing's on the agenda, no meeting. Great. It can be hard to establish and may fail depending on your team, but I think it's worth giving a red-hot try to this because when it works, it really is magic. Next up, let's talk duration. How long should the meeting be? So when creating a meeting, think about the minimum amount of time you need. Don't just schedule for a 1-hour time slot when 15 minutes really might be enough. People tend to fill up the available time with a lot of extra words. And this is particularly true of recurring meetings because an extra 15 minutes of time with 10 people on the team every day mounts up to a lot of time of people not directly working on the game. Next up, attendees. Who needs to be invited? Is everybody needed in the meeting? Why? What is each person's role within the meeting? If they just need to know the information and will not have an opportunity to ask questions, then they can just get a short summary of after the meeting is all over. Don't ask juniors to decide whether they should or shouldn't be in the meeting. You might think you're being nice and trying to include them so that they feel that way, but actually they're probably just going to feel obligated to join so they can get brownie points, even if they're unlikely to contribute anything much. Another component of attendees is, do those attendees need to be present for the entire duration of the call? If you group items in your agenda, then some individuals or other groups can leave early. Okay, so we've done before. Let's do during the meeting. Okay, number one, very important, is avoid pauses, particularly when you're running the meeting. I recommend keeping a consistent pause time of maybe 2 to 3 seconds when you're asking for feedback on things, and then just move on. People should learn to jump in really quickly. There is a massive caution here though, because some team members aren't really comfortable jumping in straight away. So you're going to need to talk to them to find out how to best support them so that their voices can be heard. When you're avoiding pauses, that means you might be able to finish the meeting early. Don't be afraid of doing this. Number 2, stick to your agenda. Yes. Number 3, listen for long conversations and stop them when needed. To do this, you need to give a very good reason for stopping the conversation. Ask yourself these questions over here. And then figure out how and when you're going to pick up the conversation. That might just be at the end of this meeting after all of the other agenda items have been addressed. If this is in a recurring meeting, you can just say, hey, we'll add it to our agenda for the next meeting. Or you might be able to say, we'll talk about it later today or next week or when it's actually part of the milestone. Or you might end up just setting up a dedicated temporary channel to discuss the problem over multiple weeks and not needing to have more phone calls. Your decision here is going to depend on who needs to be in the conversation, and most likely it's a subgroup of the people who are in the current meeting. So, with all of that information on your mind, interrupt the people speaking and say something along the lines of, "This is a great conversation and one we clearly need to have. But let's put a pin on it for right now since," insert your reason here, "I've made a note to talk about it," insert your timeline here. If you don't have all those details to fill in, then just give people a promise that you'll figure out when and how to have that conversation by a specific timeline, like the end of today. Be genuine in whatever you say. You care about these people and you're not stopping them from talking just because meh. Of course, it may happen that this long conversation is actually really an argument between two people and doesn't need to be picked up again. And if that's the case, then you probably need to deep dive into what's going on for those people and for that topic, and use some of your conflict resolution skills. Number 4, stick to the chosen time for the meeting. Watch the clock and be absolutely brutal about it. If you're an attendee, tell everyone you're leaving since the time is up, and then just leave. There shouldn't be any need to give excuses. If you're running the meeting, wrap it up. Keep note of everything that wasn't done on the agenda and move that to the next meeting, or just schedule a new meeting. It is hard to be brutal here, but the problem is it can just become a little slippery slope. All right, we've done before, we've done during, now let's talk after the meeting. Was the decision made that needed to be made? If not, do you need another meeting? Is that meeting just going to end up being the same as this one? Do you need to tackle that problem in a different way, like via voting, subcommittees, multiple prototypes? Subcommittees are great for getting the two most passionate people talking about the issue between themselves. They can nut out the details and then report back to the rest of the team when a decision might need to be made, or maybe they make the decision themselves. Where appropriate, use one-on-ones to find out what other attendees thought about this meeting. Sometimes that's just a quick chat in the corridor or a DM. Now, if you're a producer, if you're not a producer, or the person running this meeting, a lot of this stuff may be very difficult for you to actually execute on. And so it might be better for you to schedule a one-on-one with your producer to talk to them about what you're noticing and what you need. You could also just point them to this video here. Isn't that cool? All right, that's all we've got time for today. I could talk about meetings forever, but I'm going to try not to. If you would like some advice for your game team or want to improve your production skills, ask me. I've got a handy form here where you can submit questions to this advice column. Remember to like and subscribe, and do remember this is general advice and it may not be right for you and your team. even if you're the person who wrote this question. For me to help better, it needs to be a dialogue between you and me and your entire team. Did you know you can hire me? This is my website to find out more. Thanks so much. Bye.